Gaming on the go. Gamers usually choose between two options if they want to play outside or just touch some grass. That's a gaming laptop or, more recently, a handheld gaming device. But in recent years, there's an even newer option to choose from, and those are gaming tablets. For a long time, I've considered gaming tablets as a niche. They effectively bridge the gap between a gaming laptop and a handheld gaming device. Specifically, they're for those who want the performance of a gaming laptop, but with the portability of a tablet. That's what they're meant to be used for. One such gaming tablet is this, the ROG Flow Z13, this 2025 model. It's a 2-in-1 Windows gaming tablet with a 180Hz refresh rate and a new AMD chipset. It seems like it's a perfect on-the-go gaming device. But there's just one problem, the price. It's 174,995 pesos here in the Philippines, and at that price, it is very expensive. In fact, you can even get a very powerful ROG laptop for maybe the same price. But still, the question remains, is the ROG Flow Z13 a device you should consider? Or should you just get a portable gaming device or maybe even a gaming laptop? Well, let's find out in this review of the ROG Flow Z13. This being an ROG device, the Flow Z13 has everything you would expect from ASUS's gaming division, despite it being in the form of a tablet. The entire device is made out of metal and looks and feels very, very premium, especially with this all blacked out design. And of course, you do get an ROG styling here and there. But again, it's not too excessive as you would expect from an ROG, but it looks great. At the back, there's a stand that comes with the device, allowing you to use it like a laptop like here, or you can just lay it flat. Although it's a bit more subtle, when you open the stand, you can see some of the components that are hidden in this tablet. From the M2 slot to the battery pack and even the USB ports, they're all labeled neatly there, which is a nice touch from ROG. Aside from that, you have the AMD Ryzen AI sticker, which I'm sure you guys are wondering, but we'll talk about that more later on. My favorite part of this design is, of course, the clear slit right here that gives you a view of the tablet's board. And of course, as in typical ROG format, you do have lighting on it. Now, if you're expecting more RGB on this device, well, unfortunately, that's it. While you do have an RGB colored keyboard, we'll talk more about that in a bit. Still, there's no mistaking it for anything else. One look and you can tell it's an ROG device from the get-go. As the name implies, with the ROG Flow Z13, it does have a 13-inch screen, specifically a 13.4-inch display, which is roughly the same size as an iPad Pro. Although it's identical in size, this thing is a lot thicker and heavier than the iPad Pro, weighing 1.2 kilograms and measuring 15 millimeters thick. So if you're used to lighter tablets, it does take a while to get used to. Now, I don't mind the thickness and the weight though, since it does come with a bunch of ports, which you don't normally find on tablets. There are two USB-C ports which support for DisplayPort and even doubles as a charger. There's also a USB-A port, a 3.5mm audio jack, and a micro SD card slot. And of course, it also comes with an HDMI 2.1 port. Now, compared to traditional gaming laptops, that's not a lot, but for a tablet, that's a lot of ports, and it's a nice feature to have, especially if you plan to game on the go. Still, I would recommend bringing a USB hub wherever you are, just in case you need the ports, because who knows, you might need to plug in your hard drive or even a gaming mouse. Interestingly though, there are two cameras on the ROG Flow Z13, a 13-megapixel rear camera and a 5-megapixel front-facing camera. The rear camera isn't exactly the best for taking photos, but I mean, this is a tablet after all. But at least the front camera is decent if you want to have webcam sessions on Zoom or just meetings in Google Meets. But again, if you want to take photos, just use your phone. I mean, do you really want to take photos using something this big? I wouldn't. Now, the ROG Flow Z13 also comes with a trackpad and a keyboard included, which is this one. In fact, when you open it up, it's already attached to the device. This also doubles as your screen protector when you're bringing it around and about. Now, unfortunately, the keyboard and trackpad do not work separately from the tablet. That means it has to be physically attached just for it to be able to work. You can't just pair it with Bluetooth. Now, the keyboard itself is similar to most tablet keyboard, made out of a lightweight fabric-like material. For a detachable keyboard, it's quite big, I mean, given the size of the tablet, but there's also good spacing between the keys, making it great for typing. And as you would expect, it doesn't have the same tactile feel as you would on an ROG gaming laptop, but for me, it's decent enough. More importantly, it's comfortable to type with. In fact, a good chunk of this script and even the review of this, I wrote using this device. For reference, I didn't really make any typing mistake because the layout of the keyboard is very much the same as you would find in a 14-inch ROG gaming laptop. What's great is you also have a bunch of shortcut commands at your disposal. So if you've ever used an ROG laptop before, you will feel very much at home with the Flow Z13. Now, similar to the keyboard, the trackpad has a good feel to it too. It's quite accurate and it has good size. It's not intrusive when you're typing, and I don't have any accidental misclicks when I'm just browsing the web or just using the trackpad. Still, I would use a mouse if I had the opportunity, since you do have a bunch of ports available at your disposal. And of course, if you're gonna be gaming, you need a mouse. Now, speaking of a mouse, our review unit of the ROG Flow Z13 also came with a mouse in the box. There's also a stylus, but we'll talk more about that later on when we're talking about the display. Moving on to the display of the ROG Flow Z13. And as I mentioned earlier, it does have a 13.4-inch touchscreen display with a 16:10 aspect ratio, 180Hz refresh rate, and it's also protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 5. Now, if you're expecting an OLED panel on this, unfortunately, that's not the case. Instead, you use a standard IPS panel with a 2.5K resolution. ROG did make up for it by giving it a 180Hz refresh rate, which is insane to find on a tablet because this is not something you would usually find on a tablet. But for a gaming tablet, 180Hz refresh rate. I mean, that's something you would normally find on a gaming laptop or even a gaming monitor. But to find it on a tablet is nice to have. The screen is also Pantone validated and supports Dolby Vision HDR. This makes it great for editing or creative work, which I enjoy making on the go, which is like why I'm here right now. Even when I was outside, I didn't really have a hard time using this to work, play, or just edit photos on the go. The screen also has a layer of DXC coating which prevents glare, which does work, especially like right now, which is just a bit sunny. And I'm sure those of you who love to sketch or draw will enjoy using the device a lot more, especially with the included ASUS stylus. Since this is a tablet, you can just detach the keyboard and just have a viewing party with friends in a more relaxing mood or setting. But of course, you will enjoy the benefits of the 180Hz refresh rate the most when you're playing games. When using the touchscreen, everything is responsive, no accidental misclicks here and there, and even with my fat fingers, they're still quite accurate. Then again, I didn't really use the touchscreen too much since I do have a mouse with me usually, and I don't like leaving a lot of fingerprints on the screen. Now, when you're watching videos or playing games, of course, you want some nice audio to match. On the ROG Flow Z13, you get a quad speaker system with support for Dolby Atmos. Usually, tablets don't have the best speakers from our experience, but on the ROG Flow Z13, it's actually pretty decent. But you can also tune it a bit by opening the Dolby Access app and turn it on to dynamic. And from there, you have an even better soundstage and even better sound. Of course, when you're gaming, there is a 3.5mm audio port so you can hear everything on screen a lot better. Now, let's talk about the performance of the ROG Flow Z13, which I'm sure you guys are curious about. For reference, the past ROG Flow Z13 did come with a dedicated GPU, but on the 2025 model, instead you get the new AMD Ryzen AI MAX 390 chipset, which changes a lot of things. It features 12 cores, 24 threads, and 32 graphics, all combined into one architecture. In theory, you might think of it like something similar to an integrated graphics, but don't be fooled though. This thing is very capable. Whether you're working or playing with this chipset and the integrated GPU, you won't find any lack of performance. The ROG Flow Z13 did not slow down, even though I had like around 15 to 20 tabs of Chrome open, Spotify, Discord, and even while I was editing Lightroom and even exporting 4K photos. I could even run Premiere at the same time and export a 4K video, and while waiting for that video to export, I could edit photos in Lightroom, no problem. Mind you, this was on silent mode, and I can just imagine how much more capable it would be when in turbo mode. But since this is an ROG product, I'm pretty sure you guys are wondering how it can handle games. Now, similar to a gaming laptop, the ROG Flow Z13 works best when you're plugged into a socket and you are able to maximize turbo mode. In addition, I would also recommend going into the AMD app and adjusting the settings to give you more dedicated graphics memory. As I expected from this device, Light games like Genshin Impact and GZ can be run on the max settings without any issues. Even if you're fighting the abyss and there's so much going on in the background, you will be fine with this tablet. For more graphic-intensive games, I mainly played Call of Duty Warzone. This is where the ROG Flow Z13 did struggle a little bit. With the graphics settings set to high, the game was capping out at around 50 to 60 FPS, with the occasional frame rate drop if there's a lot going on. To get the best gaming experience, I had to adjust some of the graphic settings to medium, and with that, I was able to get around 90 to 100 FPS in the same lobbies. So even though it runs Warzone on medium graphics at best, that's not necessarily a bad thing. For reference, the chip is being compared to an RTX 4060 GPU, which is still pretty capable considering this is a tablet. And a 4060 isn't exactly the most powerful GPU out there, and I'm pretty sure you will have a hard time running Warzone and max out graphics in the same laptop GPU. Now, what's great about this, since this is a tablet, the boards and chips are hidden away from the keyboard. That means only the back part gets a bit hot. But overall, the temps stayed cool and they're very decent. But of course, you don't really feel any heat at all, even when you're gaming on this tablet. And now I'm sure you guys are wondering how this chipset performs, so you can check out the benchmark scores on the screen right now. If there's one thing I don't like about gaming laptops, it's the short battery life. Thankfully, that's not an issue with the ROG Flow Z13. It comes with a 70-watt-hour 4-cell lithium-ion battery pack. ASUS does claim it does have around 10 hours of battery life, but that's via a video loop test. In reality, the ROG Flow Z13 has an average battery life of around 6 to 7 hours, at least based from my user experience. For reference, this average was taken when I was using it mainly in silent mode, and most of the time I was just doing light work like productivity, getting reviews, or even editing photos and videos. If you start playing games though, the battery life is an entirely different story, as you would expect. In gaming performance mode, you will find that you will be looking for a charger quite soon. After around 30 minutes of just playing a Warzone match, the battery of the Flow Z13 dropped from 100% to 65% already. And with that, I suggest you bring the 200-watt charger with you, especially if you know you'll be playing games on the go. As I mentioned earlier, the ROG Flow Z13 does come with two chargers. The one I always bring with me is the bigger, fatter 200-watt charger. There's also a 100-watt USB-C charger if you want to be lighter on the go. While you can usually get away with just the 100-watt charger, if you want to do some long, intensive gaming on the go, you should bring the 200-watt brick with you all the time. It's heavy, but it's worth it. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with the ROG Flow Z13 gaming tablet. It has a great form factor, a long battery life, especially compared to gaming laptops, and an amazing performance to boot. Best of all, it comes in a very compact package like you see here. There are no heating issues too, and if you're someone who loves to draw and game at the same time, this tablet is the perfect compromise. However, there's just one thing that bugs me about it. During my time with the ROG Flow Z13, I mainly used it as a laptop instead of a tablet. So this begs the question, is this a laptop with a detachable keyboard, or is this a gaming tablet with a keyboard included? Just some food for thought. Then there's the price. It's 174,995 pesos. That's a lot of money for a tablet that you will probably end up using like a laptop. At that price, you could already get yourself a more powerful gaming laptop that might even have an OLED display or even a more powerful GPU. You sacrifice portability a bit, but you do get a lot more bang for your buck. But overall, at the end of the day, it all comes down to user need. If you work in a creative industry and need to draw and sketch and you love playing, then this is a good compromise. But if you just want to game on the go, then maybe a gaming laptop or even a handheld gaming device like the ROG Ally X would be a better choice for you. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. But what do you think of the ROG Flow Z13? Is it something you'd consider, or would you rather just get a gaming laptop and get an ROG Ally X on top? Whatever the case, share your thoughts in the comments down below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like and subscribe to watch more. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, that's Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. And of course, visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Once again, this has been Jose, and I'll see you guys in the next video.